Welcome to Employee to Boss. I've got the great Robbie here with us today to tell us this little story about how he came from nothing to everything and much, much more.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. Welcome to my committee. I feel like I'm on 2 hours of sleep, so I'm like really...
so this is going to be authentic.
This is going to be authentic.
This isn't practice.
This is subconscious
down.
right here. This is like,
Well, give me the highlights of kind of, where you got your first step into the workforce, what it looked like, kind of some of the things, and then the transition to where you started making money for the things that you were creating, music and otherwise.
Yeah, I always say the workforce is for people that were forced to work. 15 years old, I got my first job at this place called Farmers Brown. I hope I'm not getting them in trouble with child labor. But anyway, they were paying me $60 a day or something like that. It sounded good to a 15-year-old kid. And I got this job during the summer. We were throwing watermelons. And then one day, they said, come in here and, take out the bags. And I'm like, all right, cool. Went in there and took out the bags. And I learned immediately about customer service. I noticed that if I was nice to people, they would give me tips. If I talked to them, they would give me tips. I got so good at it one time that I was taking a guy's groceries to his car, and because I'm used to telling my parents I love them, I said love you. He looked back like he said I love you too, son. And I was like, But I learned very quickly that if you treated people with kindness and respect, no matter who they were, that you would immediately be rewarded for it, if not with the compensation of money, but with just an overall feeling of gratitude. And so I dove into customer service head first, left that job, went to Harvey's Supermarket. I graduated from Farmers Brown was a produce store. And then I graduated to the produce department at Harvey Supermarket, and
got more money an hour.
Got more money an hour. Less stress, less work. It was too easy a lot. We had this guy named Bernard that would just the whole shift. Bernard was like 60 at the time, 50, 60. But all Bernard would do, he would work one day a week. And that one day he worked, he would just stand over there and talk the entire time, like to every customer. And the whole store was like, you're working with Bernard, right? And I said, yeah. It was like, he doesn't do anything. He just stands there and talks. And that's all he did. So anyway, all the customers liked him though. And I just, again, it confirmed for me that customer service was important. Wanted more money. Left there and went to another retail store called Tuesday Morning, stocking shelves, a little bit of cash register. Left there, and I'm only at the time I'm only like 17. I've already had 3 or 4 jobs, Left there, went to. I said, you know what? I want a nice car, and I want to be a man. Well. There's 2 ways that I thought you could be a man. Go to the military or get a factory job. So I chose the factory job. 7 to 7. 7 at night to 7 in the morning. 12-hour shift. 17, 18-year-old kid busting my behind doing manual labor. And one thing I became increasingly aware of is that there were a lot of disgruntled older people that worked there. And I was thinking, my goodness, why are you here? Why are you at this place if you don't like it? And I realized very quickly that those people were trapped. They were just there going through the motion. Nobody liked the job. Everybody hated it. I hated it. And I looked at them. I said, man, this guy's 50 years old. If I don't get out of here, this is where I'm going to be at 50 years old. How long you been here, man? 25 years. Hate it. And I said, dang, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
And I said it to his face. I was like, I don't want to be here at your age. He's like, yeah, man, I told him I did music. He said, I highly encourage you to do music, but let me see if you're good. So on break, I would freestyle for everybody at this factory job. And I got so good at it that everybody would literally huddle up inside of somebody's old Suburban just to play some beats so I could rap to it. And that was the highlight of their night. Right. And so
live concert.
They would go back. Everybody would go back to their stations after. It was like, man, he's riding, man. And I said, I don't want to work at this hard labor place anymore. Let me try. I want another factory job because it was good money. What I thought was good money. So I went to Shaw Industries and worked at Shaw Industries for a while. And there I learned how to operate a gigantic machine that spoon-fed little nylon or in cotton through these little tiny tubes, and if one of them broke, it shut down the whole machine. So you're talking about, I would be, I'm only at this time I'm only like 19, and I'm responsible for 2 machines from maybe 200-300, maybe the size of a football field. Wow. Both machines, and they all have 200 little compartments on each side. So I was over 400 stations. And if one of those little spoons of yarn broke, it shut down the whole machine. Wow. And if your machine was connected to somebody else's machine, it also shut down their machine because their machine was feeding your machine. And so not only is your manager mad at you, the person next to you is also mad at you as well. But hey, I didn't have oil on my clothes. I thought it was a good job. But working from 7 at night to 7 in the morning, it just started to wear on me. Again, I saw people that was there that were older than me, and I didn't want to be. And I knew I didn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, I kind of tell people, I said, look around you, and especially look up, and if the people above you, if there's nowhere to grow, no more increase in that company, you went from job to job to job every time looking for a little bit more money, but the real thing is because you never saw the position that was right for Robbie, the money that was right for Robbie. So I think we should notice that, like, why do we leave job and job and job? And it's because inside of us, there's got to be more for us, right? That's right. And we get a little taste of a little bit more, but we don't recognize that really the more will only be satisfied by us becoming our own boss. It's funny you were talking about, customer service. One of my first jobs was Winn-Dixie, and I learned how to, as a white boy, shake my booty, because I'd take out those single women and I would shake my booty. I would hug and rub, and you putting in a bag, a 50-pound bag of groceries in there, and I didn't care about the bag. I was working that back end. I think I was the original twerker, but I would realize that if I made them happy or, misthink about their day and just think about the goodness that's going on right now, absolutely, they would tip me, and sometimes it was in food stamps, and I didn't care because I'd take that food stamp, I'd go inside, I'd buy me a treat, and so it is, you can see that customer service and that personal help to somebody, either talking to their kids or doing something funny, for their kids, relates in real dollars. So that's really interesting, that you've learned that at such a young age, and then implement, your gift and talent as a rapper. Kind of go into that scenario where that started.
So after I left, I think I left Shaw Industries, and then I went to, I got a job at, I've had a lot of jobs. I was a freaking janitor at JCPenney. A janitor. I would go in the morning before the store opened, and we would clean carpet, all the bathroom.
Were you there when they did the remodel?
I'm not sure.
Because I did the remodel.
I was there very shortly because I was at JCPenney. Then my main job was Rimerton Grill. I don't know if you remember Rimerton Grill, but I learned how to cook. I learned how, I started on dishes, learned how to cook. And then I let JCPenney go and picked up Journey Shoe Store. Well, when I got to Journey Shoe Store, it was all about sales. So I learned very quickly that I was really good at sales. I was blowing everybody away. I made assistant manager in like 2 weeks, and just start customer service. And I was just being myself, just making fun with people when they came in the store. Not even trying to sell them shoes. I was selling them me.
Right.
I would kind of guilt people with my personality, to make them feel like I got to buy something from this dude, And I still have people that remember me now from Journey Shoe Store.
That's cool.
So anyway, I had this deep desire to rap because I came up really crazy. Family was just in shambles. I had a lot to talk about. I had a lot on my heart, a lot on my chest. And I started rapping at a young age. But one day in Journeys, this little girl came into the store with her mom, and the little girl didn't find anything she was looking for, so she tried to pull her mom out the store, but her mom stayed there and just stared at me. And her mom said, the little girl said, "Come on, mama." And she said, "What are you looking at?" And the lady said, "I thought that was that rapper guy." And she said, the little girl said, "That's not him. He's famous. That guy's famous, And I'm thinking, when they walked out, I was like, wow, these people really think that I'm not even who they think I am because I'm working in Journey Shoe Store. So perception is a really big deal when it comes to the way your life turns out, the way you perceive life, and then also the way people start perceiving your life has it plays a big part in how your life starts to turn out. So anyway, when they left out the store, I made up my mind I was going to quit. Because it was two things happened. The lady that was staring at me thought that I was the guy who I was, but she didn't think I was because I worked in the little girl didn't think I was because I worked in the store. So it let me know that I was good enough to be recognized as far as a rapper is concerned. And then also that these people already think I'm famous. So why not just live that character?
Famous life.
Absolutely.
Talk about the first time that you got paid for rapping.
Yeah, so one day I'm at a pool hall. I think it was CJ's. Yeah, I was at CJ's one night shooting some pool, minding my business. I had put out a couple of mixtapes and stuff. And this guy who knew about me came over to my table and said, "Hey, man, I want to talk a little business with you when you get some time." I said, "All right." So as I'm engaging in pool, I kind of lean over and start having a conversation with him. And he asked me a question it messed my mind up. I had never been asked this question before, ever. He said, "Hey, man," he said, "I see you doing your thing. You know how people talk. I see you doing your thing. And I was wondering, how much would you charge me to throw you a party?" Now, this blew my mind because that sounded like a trick question to me. I said, "You mean how much would what?" And then he said, "How much would you charge me to throw you a party?" I said, "You want to throw me a party but want to pay me for it?" He was like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, yeah, that happens all the time. I try to act like it was normal.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. I was like, let me get with my manager. I don't even know what the going rate is right now. Let me go ask my manager. So I was there with a friend of mine at the time by the name of Rob. And Rob wasn't even my manager, but he became my manager that night because of that. And I went over there and walked over to Rob, who was sitting there with some girls, as he always did. I said, "Hey, man," I said, "this dude over there say he wants to throw me a party and pay me for it." So he said, I can't say what he really said. It was a curse word. He was like, "Tell him $100. And I said, "You think he'll go for that?" He said, "Yeah, just say it." So I went back over there. I was like, just talked to my manager. He said it's gonna be $100. He said, $100? I said, yeah. And he's like, that's all? And he goes in his pocket, pulls out this big wad of money, peels off $100 bill and give it to me. He said, be there June, whatever. And I'm thinking, man, I'm about to have a good time with this $100. This is when I was still drinking at that time. I think I probably bought everybody with me alcohol that night. You know, that was my motto. So
his perception was $100. Your perception was $100 was a lot.
Yeah.
His perception was $100 is nothing.
Nothing.
You. This is the second incident in your life where the little girl is saying,
absolutely.
And you're seeing perceptions of people and where your perception of yourself is. This is awesome.
I probably devalued myself in his eyes that night.
Right.
Because he thought I was somewhere so high that it was going to be a couple grand probably. Right. But me not ever being, I never made money off of a show before. I just said $100. To me, that was a lot of money at the time.
So what happened at the show?
So I'll show up to the show. I pull up and there's cars everywhere. I'm gonna tell you where it was. What's the name of that house they're rebuilding on Patterson Street? It used to be a bar back in the day.
Oh, yeah. There was a pizza joint in there.
Yeah, right there. It was upstairs. It had the show upstairs. Vito's. I pull up the Vito's. There's cars everywhere. I say, man, somebody's, this place is popping. Who's like, what are they doing here tonight? Little did I know it was for me. Like, they started promoting that I was going to be performing. And at that time, nobody had ever seen me perform. They just heard the CDs that I was passing out. And so tons of people were there. And as I walked in and saw the guy at the door checking people's ID, I said, they're charging to get in here. I said, I've been duped. I said, he gave me $100 and he's making thousands in here tonight. But I get it. I respect it. So I went in there and I did the show. And it taught me a little bit about value. It taught me a little bit about business too, because I thought he was just being nice by saying he wanted. I'm like, this stranger, he's a nice guy. He wants to throw me a party. I don't know. No, he saw it as a business opportunity. And so that's the first time I ever got paid for a show. When I stopped doing music in 2012, well, actually I stopped in 2011, but I announced it, made it official 2012. When I stopped doing shows in 2012, and this might not be a lot of money, but to me it was a lot of money then. I was getting $3,000 a show to stand on stage for 30 minutes and do my thing.
Wow.
And so that was good money, but the problem was I was blowing it as fast as I was getting it. Money comes in my hand, it's gone by tomorrow because I'm just young. Nobody's taught me anything about. I heard about saving, and let's be honest, guys, saving just sounds boring. Saving is as boring as voting. I mean, nobody wants to do either of them.
I tell everybody all the time, I say, you won't ever save enough.
Yeah.
You'll just never save enough.
You never will.
So if you're working at that, and I know there's lots of financial courses out there that say save and break up your money and do this and do that. Yeah. And that guy's multi-millionaire off of that system. But to me, that system didn't work.
It doesn't work
for me. It's increase your money. And I've done a class, and one of the classes I did was, on money and on increase. And a couple came to me, and the lady's like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. Well, that family went from $60,000 a year to almost $300,000 in just 2 years because they realized their focus was on minimalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is small mindset. It's not increase. When she changed her mind with her family, her and her husband, and started doing things for increase minded, they went to $300,000. What was the difference? The difference was the perception of what was really available for them. When you are thinking about savings, you're thinking about minimalisticness. So then you're not thinking about increase.
That's right.
And that's your perception. So talk about, you go from working, you get into this gig where you're making $3,000 a half hour. So you see that Robbie is valuable.
Yeah.
Robbie can make some money.
Absolutely.
You give up the life of rapping, you go into the technical industry. Why'd you make that shift, that choice?
So I was a pretty, I like to talk to people about decisions. I talk to my kids about decisions. Now, does what I told you about me working, having jobs, does any of that sound like a thug?
No.
Okay. Well, I was at that time. I had a very, I wouldn't even say a thug. I think a thug is somebody that's loose. I had thuggish connections. And I could fight really good. Like I could just, they called me one time. I hit somebody one time, it was over. Either I'm really, really happy or really, really mad. There was no in between. Right. So, but I got a bad rap, and I rapped about a lot of dark things because of my past. So after being in the music field for a few years and making some money at it, partying, things of that nature, I realized that I was deeply unhappy. So although I'm gonna talk about the financial situation and then also my entry into the tech world, I think it's important to give people context of like why it happened.
Right.
Deeply unhappy.
Right.
Woo. I was sitting at, not the name drop, but I was sitting at Pamela Anderson's birthday party in Atlanta, Georgia, in VIP, surrounded by the who's of who's, and I looked around and I said, I can't trust any of these people. I don't even know any of them. Like they're all just, it's all superficial, Not Pamela Anderson. She doesn't know me personally, FYI, but I was invited to her party by somebody in her entourage at the time. Long story short, I had a desire to change, but I just kept doing the music thing because I felt like people expected me to do it. And I was kind of caught in this role of gangster rapper. This is me. I'm a gangster rapper. Mind you, I don't even have a criminal record. I could just fight, and I knew how to make people do things. I knew how to get a group of people to follow my command. And so I started to really become conscious and to understand my decisions in life. I understood that I was very influential and that came with great power, And then also I realized I was deeply unhappy. So I made a choice after my last show in Ogden, Utah. This was, it was cold, so it had to be around November 2017. That was my last show, Ogden, Utah. I was in a 6-star hotel, gold everything. It was crazy. I had never been to a 6-star. Long story short, I stopped doing music at what a lot of people perceive that to be the pinnacle, for an underground rapper. And I just made a conscious choice to change my life for the better. Like I want to, first of all, I want to think better. Second of all, I want to feel better. I realized I didn't know what happiness felt like. Like that was the craziest part. Didn't even know that emotion was an emotion. I thought I was happy because I was partying and stuff. And I realized one day, I was like, what does happiness mean? How do I feel it? I said, that's sad. And so
that's interesting because when you were working, you were always looking for more money.
That's right.
And so you went job to job to job looking for more money. Then you found the more money.
Absolutely.
And then you realized you didn't find the Robbie and happiness.
That's it.
So you changed your whole industry again. That's,
Absolutely.
And I don't know that anybody really thinks about the thoughts behind what they're doing.
They don't.
We'd almost say mindlessly. I mean, I'm not trying to put you down or anything, but you went mindlessly from job to job looking for that money.
Because people tell you, what's the first thing people tell you when you're growing up? When you start eating up the groceries in the house, you need to get a job. And I dropped out of school. You know, to be honest, I dropped out of school, and it was either get a job or
go to jail.
Go to jail.
Yeah.
You know, get a job, go to jail, go to the military.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna just get a job because I don't want. I felt like if I went to the military, then I wouldn't have control over my life.
Right.
And so
I thought I should go to the military to get control over my life, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people make that decision, but then they realize I'm still and I'm trapped because I signed a contract.
Oddly enough, I do wish that I had done it though.
Right.
Now looking back, I wish that I had done it. Because it's kind of like college. It's kind of like, I don't really like college, but as far as the whole setup, you know, the scam.
And the cost.
And the cost is the scam. The scam is the cost. Increased boss. Anyway, but I miss that experience. I don't know how it feels to live in a dorm and have chicks come over and stuff like that.
So here you are now, and because the reason I really want to get into is the internet aspect of it is you start learning at.
I'll tell you how.
Go ahead, tell me how.
The whole the key component is how did I get myself. How did I get these shows? How did I go from being in Valdosta, thinking that P. Diddy was going to find me in a barbershop freestyling and sign me one day? How did I go from that mindset to now I'm getting paid $3,000 a show in places like Alden, Utah, Minot, North Dakota, where nobody goes? You know, rapping in Atlanta, St. Louis, just some of it everywhere. You know, music took me. Up until that point, I hadn't been anywhere outside of Jacksonville, Florida, you know. Right. No further than that. Anyway, long story short, the reason that happened is because I became keenly aware of this thing called the internet. I knew it was going to be a thing. I was like, why would I wait for somebody to discover me and sign me when it's all about money anyway? I could just put my music out on the internet and get people in other places to like my music instead of just Valdosta. And then they would put me for shows. All I got to do is get it in the right head, you know, get my music in the right ears. And that's exactly what I did. At the time, there was this website called DigiWax. And I submitted my song called Life Goes On to DigiWax. I think I paid like $1,500. My manager paid it for me. And the song just took off. People started playing it. They had these different little subcultures for radio. And I started using the internet. I built my own website because I didn't have the money to do it and stuff. I sat there for a whole year. I can't mention that whose house. But I sat there a whole year and just learned the internet. It ruined the relationship that I was in, you know, because all I did was just sit at the computer. I'm like, okay, if I put this code in, I can make this little button go beep, beep, beep. Okay, I got that. Mission accomplished. Now, how do I make a banner? And this is when you had to code everything.
Wow.
So I just sat there and I just learned how to code. I learned YouTube. I've learned through YouTube how to code. And I said, why do I need school? You know, long story short.
Out of the desire to promote your music.
Out of the desire to promote my music. That landed me in some of the world's largest hip hop. Nobody knows me, by the way. Right. I had a cult-like following. I was famous to the right people. So, but that put me in the world's largest hip hop magazine 3 times, which was Source magazine. No, 2 times in Source and then 2 times in Hip Hop Weekly magazine. And people were like, he's going here. And I would come back, I would be a celebrity because all the other guys were scrambling around Valdosta rapping, trying to figure it out. Here I am jumping on planes, going here, going there, living the life. I started vlogging at a very immature age. Like, you know, I would be in the hotels. I still have stuff that I've hidden on YouTube where I'm in the hotels like, yo, what's up, man? You know, thinking I was doing something. Long story short, when I stopped doing music, I realized there were components of that. There was things that I learned doing music that I would like to continue. One of the things I would like to still be behind a microphone, podcasting.
Boom, boom, boom.
I would like to still sell stuff on the internet because I was selling my music. Okay, so I started selling stuff. So that's how I got into it. I left music and kept the things that I wanted in my life. I left all the bad stuff alone. The partying, the, multiple. I better not say that. Leanna's watching. But all the partying and stuff, I left that alone. And I just dove head first. I said, I don't want to work for nobody. I'm going to do this internet thing.
So, yeah, once you get out of working for people, it's very hard to think I'm going to go back. I mean, you have to be in a pretty bad situation with a pretty good offer to even turn somebody's head. I feel like, I don't know many bosses who've started and then gone back. I do know some, but I don't know many.
They wasn't real bosses then.
Right.
I'm going to tell you the thing is, man. Think about that. Like, can we be raw?
Let's.
So I always wondered coming up, I always wondered to myself, what's wrong with people? Like we fall for the craziest stuff, right? And the things that don't make sense tend to make all the sense to most people, right? Mm. So case in point, just the whole terminology. Like I don't understand how anybody could work for me. Like the phrase "work for me" because I don't want to work. Mm. Come work for me.
Right.
I
do what I don't want to do.
Exactly. And so unless see, we all work for somebody.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The thing is, what I've learned is but I'm talking about not having control of your time. That's, to me, when I got hit in the face by a truck when I was 7, I've said this 100 times, but I became keenly aware of time. And so I don't even remember when I made this choice, but I do know that I never wanted anybody to tell me what to do with my time. Don't tell me where to be. Don't tell me how long I can stay there. Nothing. I want to dictate everything. So time has become, as I live longer, time has become more and more important to me. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. Although I still work for people. The only difference is I'm the boss. The boss controls his time or her time. A boss isn't just somebody that's calling the shots. A boss also calls what they're doing with their time.
Yeah, let me check my schedule.
Absolutely.
Let me see where I can fit you in.
Absolutely.
Even though somebody's coming to offer you money,
yeah,
you're still checking your schedule
Absolutely.
For when and how you're going to receive their money.
Because when you're a boss, you have multiple bosses now.
Oh, yeah.
It's called the general public.
Right.
So the only difference is if they fire me, I got 20 other
20 other bosses. Right. If you get fired right where you're at now,
exactly,
then you have one boss, he fires you, you have no income.
What's the odds of everybody firing you at one time?
Slim to none.
Slim to none. And so I picked that up. The only thing is I would have these thoughts and I would share them, but although they were well-meaning people, they just had the mindset of an employee. I'm saying it's too risky. I would hear it all the time. Right. It's too risky to own your own business. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. You need to get a real job. I said, isn't it weird that you value a job and the person that you work for doesn't? Mm. You think having a job is secure, but you're working for somebody you believe to be not secure.
Right.
An entrepreneur is a risk taker. And so I realized that I had a better chance if I started to dictate my own financial path. Dictate my financial path and also what I did with my time.
And this is where you're entering into this perception. So, I mean, you start off with jobs, multiple jobs. Then you go into self gigs. You're rapping and making money that way.
Yeah.
Which was created from your side hustle, which is a talent.
Yeah.
So you took your talent, you created a side hustle. That side hustle became very lucrative, $3,000 a show. And then you go and you start learning tech stuff. And so you take your side hustle and figure out how to make it your job.
So kind of. I didn't point this in. I started rapping at 5 years old. 5. I heard crisscross. Crisscross make you want to jump. When I heard that and I saw those little kids with their backwards pants on and their backwards shirts and I was like, I'm going to rap. I started writing raps immediately. So that became my purpose to create. I could draw and I could write. And so what happened was that was my passion, but then because everybody told me it was so ingrained into society to get a job, my passion was my rap was my real stuff and the job was the side hustle. But because I listened to everybody else, the roles reversed. My job became the real thing and my rap became my side hustle. So that was very true.
Well, and I think about it, if you were 5 years old and you knew what you wanted to do.
Knew it.
Isn't it interesting how long you suffered to get to where you lined up with what you knew was inside you to do? You're basically talking about 13, 14 years.
I was duped, Ben. I was duped. I'm going to tell you how I was duped.
Tell me.
Remember I said I'm always puzzled when I say I got hit in the face by a truck and nobody says how. What happened? Did you get rich? Here's the deal. My parents and the lawyer told me that, okay, when you turn 18, you're going to have so much money because you want a settlement. Because the person that hit you was in the wrong, you had X amount of dollars put on a CD and it was spinning from the time you were 7 to the time you were 8, when you can have access to it at 18. So I think it was something like $20,000 at age of 7. And it was spinning on a CD and was supposed to be ready for me when I was 18. So when I turned 18, like my whole story, this was the theme. Like people like, oh, you one step closer to 18. That was the theme of my life. And I said, basically, in the 5th grade, don't let my son see this. In the 5th grade, I knew I was going to drop out. I knew it. I didn't care nothing about anything they were teaching me. I'm like, oh, I've learned how to count and read. I'm out.
I'm done.
So, and I thinking that I was going to be rich when I turned 18 had a lot to do with that. So, I just didn't care about anything else. And I said, even if, because I noticed that the older I got, the quieter my family became about the 18. And so when I turned 18, nobody said anything.
Nobody said, here, go to the bank and collect this. Here's your
So one day I was, 18 passed. I didn't bring it up because I'm like, well, I ain't going to bring it up. I don't want it to look like that's what I've been planning my whole life around, even though it has. So I didn't bring it up. I think a year or two went by and I got in another accident. Somebody hit me from the Bizak. I'm mindful about the things I speak of because I believe that creation is in the tongue. And I don't want to speak things into existence that I don't want to happen. Case in point, the other day I was talking about how I stumbled upon Amazon by cracking Leanna's laptop screen. Saturday, I cracked my laptop screen. Broke it. $1,400 laptop. Anyway, there's some other stuff. But long story short is that, where was I? That's
You were talking about not getting the money.
Oh, yeah.
You're 18. You got in another accident.
And then the lawyer that I had said, have you, asking about my previous history and you have any medical conditions? You have been in accidents before? I said, yeah, I was involved in one when I was 7. He said, oh, what happened? I said, well, I was hit in the face by a truck. And he said, man, I bet you got paid for that. And I said, no, I didn't. He said, you didn't? He said, you mind if I find out what happened to it? If I could find out what happened to it, would you want to know? I said, yeah. He gave me some information. I went down. This is when the courthouse was still in the old building. I took this paper down that he gave me to this lady. She pulled my file. I look at it. My freaking dad had been withdrawing checks from my account the entire time. Only thing that made me mad is he had passed away. I couldn't beat him up. He drained it. I didn't have $1 in there. He drained it. He had a bad gambling problem. So anyway, long story short, I knew that I wanted to be in control of my time. I want to be in control of my money. The only thing is I just didn't have any financial education. Nobody told me about it. It was just work, try to save. Saving is boring. Working is boring. And so when I got into the tech world, I realized that I had an advantage on a lot of these nerds out here. I know how to have a conversation with people. Most of these nerds don't. As far as the geeky ones that sit, all they do is code. They do that. See, coding.
Well, coding is analytical.
It's analytical. And it's also, you remember when the fidget spinners came out?
Yeah.
Well, coding is just like that. It's kind of like for fidgeters. People that just fidget. They got to fidget things. They just got to compute things. They got to just tinker with things. Well, that's how coding is. And I had a little bit of that, but I also had the ability to not be weird.
Customer service.
Exactly. And I had street smarts. So I knew that I don't know everything about coding, but I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to explain it to somebody else in layman's terms. I know it enough to build something that I can sell that people would find useful.
Tell me about your first sale, where you did it at, and who you on making a website for people. What was your first?
My first sale. First sale on. All right. So first sale. I thought you were going to ask me about the Amazon stuff, about me selling on there. That's that's one direction, but I like your interaction with customer service and how you started developing websites for people. I offered, so I had been doing it for myself for a while, and Leanna kept telling me, and Leanna was dating, and she just kept telling me I should do it for other people, and I was like, no, that's stupid. You're like, why would I do that? Like, who would pay me to do that? And then she was like, I'm telling you, you should do it. And so one day, a friend of mine that had looked out for me when I was doing music, he gave me $5,000 one day to invest in my music career. And after paying a producer, maybe 2 weeks later, I had what I call my spiritual awakening and realized I didn't want to do music anymore. So those $5,000 were gone. My friend is a very wealthy man. He's been rich since I knew him. He's the first millionaire I ever met, multimillionaire. He was 20-something when I met him. But I called him up. I said, man, I just ain't feeling the music thing no more, man. He was like, what? I said, I just ain't feeling it no more. I said, I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to talk about gangster stuff no more. I'm not even a gangster. I just know how to fight, and I get mad, and I can beat people up.
And I don't like being mad.
And I don't like being mad. And he said, okay. He was like, can we get the money back? I said, man, he ain't answering my phone calls. That was the last time I really got mad because I threatened the dude that wouldn't give me the money back. But from that point, he said, are you happier? I said, I am. He said, man, just do what makes you happy. We'll figure the money out later. So a year or two passed. I hadn't talked to him in a while. And by this time, I had started making money on the internet via Amazon. You know, I was slanging. You know, I was making so much money from my house that it was my mailman said, "Hey, let me ask you something. What are you doing in there?" He said, "You selling on the internet?" I said, "Yeah, I'm selling on the internet." He said, "Where are you selling at?" I said, "Amazon." He said, "You're selling on Amazon?" So anyway, I was making so much money. I had a BMW parked out front. We had two of them at this point. Parked out front. Mine never left the house because I worked from home. And I came across my friend that had loaned me the money a few years ago. And he asked me how I'd been. I said, "I'm doing well, man, you know, da-da-da-da-da." And he said, "Man, you know what?" He said, "You know what? How you can pay me back for that money?" I said, "How?" He said, "Man, move out to my apartment complex and help me run this company." And I said, at this time I'm in a 2-story house. I didn't own it, but I felt like it was mine. And I was like, "Apartment?" He's like, "Yeah, just help me run it, man, and we can wipe the slate clean." And I said, "I don't know." I said, "Let me ask Leanna." He said, "I'll give you no rent." I'm thinking, wow, I got $20,000, $30,000, you know, that constantly in my account, which was the most money I'd ever maintained. And now you're telling me I won't have rent either, and the cars are paid off? Wow. You know. So I told Leanna, and she was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So now, because I was still making Leanna pay half rent. So now Leanna didn't have rent either for like 3 years because of that. You know, she looked out for me at one point, and then I looked out for her. So she didn't have rent for 3 years. You imagine the amount of money that I was able to save. Now, I didn't get any money from helping him at the apartment complex for the first 2 years. I didn't take a check because I was trying to make sure that the slate was absolutely clean. I didn't want to pay him $5,000 back, but I wanted to deliver value to him that was worth way more than $5,000. And one of the things that I did to do that, I noticed he didn't have a website. I'm like, y'all still writing receipts with paper? How do people even know you're back here? Let me build you a website. I can bring you more customers. He was like, "Yeah, that sounds good, man. I'll get with you about it." So he didn't bring it up anymore. So I didn't ask him anymore. I just started building it. One day, because what part of my job was part of my responsibility was taking the college kids back and forth to VSU. So I would take the kids to VSU, come back. It was back and forth all day to about 8:00 at night sometimes. But it wasn't hard. It was just driving, and I go back to my apartment and sell online. Put some packages outside the door. UPS or USPS would come by and pick it up. And I'd get back on the van, take them, come back. And then one day, he said, "Man, what?" He said, "Why does UPS always come to your door? What are all those packages?" I said, "Man, I told you I had a business online." He said, "What you selling?" I said, "Everything. Stun guns, knives, you know, everything." So anyway, I said, "Oh, by the way, here's your website." He looked at it, he said, "Man, that's mine?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh my God, bro, that's awesome." I said, "All right, well, let's publish it." Hit publish. Week or two go by. We get over 200 applications submitted.
Wow.
Online. He pulls up to the...
How big's the unit? How many units do you have in the apartment complex?
At that time, we were on phase... I want to say at that time, we were on phase 1. We got phase 1. We was on phase 2. He had just finished phase 2. There are now 4 phases out there.
How many apartments total?
I don't know now because it's been a year or so since I've been out there.
But obviously you had way more applicants than apartment units.
Oh, yeah. And we was renting them out by the room. $500 to $550 a room. A room. So each apartment would make about $1,000 to, $1,500 a month. Plus utilities and stuff if they went over on overages. So anyway, he pulls up to the office one day and his apartment is filled beyond his wildest imagination. There was people in the office waiting to talk to somebody about an apartment. Well, at the time, I wasn't the property manager at all. I was just a guy doing transportation. And he saw that. He was like, all right, you're head of marketing. And so I started doing the marketing thing. And then I just got so good at everything. I found myself in a position where I had to be, interacting with the tenants a lot of times. I would show them the apartments. I would help them move in sometimes. And then I taught myself how to read leases, write leases. And then he said, I need you to run the company. So I built that website for him as a form of to show him I appreciate what he did for me, and to also create tremendous value to him. And I worked for free for the first year and a half. I paid my dues a long time ago. He gave me an apartment. I did the transportation, I did the marketing, and then took over and started running the company.
Tell me about your second transaction where you started to actually create a website business.
So I don't even know who that was, to be honest. I think I know I was still at the apartment complex, and the person met me. Who was that?
They met you at Starbucks, right?
Yes. I put an ad in the newspaper.
Oh, yeah?
Because at the time, I was already in the newspaper about the apartment complex. Robbie Cornelius runs a $1.2 million company right here in Valdosta, Georgia, self-educated, da-da-da-da-da. All this was in the newspaper. So people started asking me about it. And I'm like, oh, the newspaper's still a thing? So I put an ad in the newspaper about building websites. And I got my first call. And we met at Starbucks. I told her how much it was going to be. At that time, it was like deeply low, probably $300.
Like when you did the first rep, you said $100.
Absolutely.
You do your first website,
there
you said
go.
$300. And here's the interesting thing is, even though you lowballed it both times, you didn't die because you went broke.
Exactly.
To me, it's the education is worth more than the actual first charge of $100 or $300 or whatever it is, because it gives you the perception, which is way more valuable than the dollar amount.
Absolutely.
Because once you grasp the correct perception, you'll always then charge the right amount after that. So I really encourage people to lowball, get the job to get a better perception.
Absolutely.
Because right now, truth of the matter is, you're working a job and you're lowballing yourself.
That's exactly it.
And you're stuck in a perception. So why not just correct your perception? Because, and that's what I don't think people realize is that, the job is still just a perception.
That's right. That's exactly right. You perceive the job to be more secure than owning the company. Isn't that wild?
So you go in, you make this website for this lady.
Yeah.
She likes it. She's happy.
It put her at the top of Google.
Put her at the top of Google.
I realized that, I've done this several times for people for free. Put them all at the top of Google. Maybe I have a gift at this thing. So I started building on somebody else's platform. I think it was cPanel at the time. I was building websites. cPanel is this gigantic motherboard that will build you a spaceship if you know how to do it. I mean, it's every bell and whistle under the sun. So after using cPanel for a year or two to build various websites, I realized that...
You're generating some money.
Yeah, I'm generating some money, but it's a one-time transaction. And I realized that my customer was paying cPanel monthly. And I said to myself, what if I build something that was very similar to cPanel without all the other bells and whistles, but just the basic necessities that I could insert code into? All I need is a platform to insert code in. And then so I started working on it, plugged that into Amazon Web Servers. And I don't know how many I'm at now, 200 plus
and
websites.
Off of your own code.
Yeah.
So you don't use cPanel anymore because you took it to the next level.
I still use cPanel for some people.
Right.
I don't build anything new on cPanel. The people that were there are still there. But so I now understood, because of property management, residual income, I understood that I could build apartments on the internet and charge my tenants rent for doing various services for them and allowing them to have access to my software that I put so much time, energy, and money into.
So if Journeys called you up and said they need a manager, would you go back? Absolutely
not.
Would you go back to JCPenney?
If Journeys called me right now and said, and this is bonkers what I'm about to say, most people probably won't believe me, but if Journeys or anybody called me right now and said, I'll guarantee you $2 million signing bonus to come work for my company and be here from Monday to whatever, from 8 to whatever, I wouldn't take it. Because for me, time is more valuable. I take that money and I'm like, what's the purpose of it? I can't even get free enough to spend it.
Right.
I can't even get free enough to enjoy it. When I got so I was self-employed even when I was at the apartment complex, because as a property manager, you are your own company. So I learned about percentages. I made a deal. If he wanted me to stay there, we cut a deal, give me X amount of the income that comes in, and I won't expose that number, but it was decent. And I will say this, for the average property management, you get about 7 to 8% a lot of times for all the income that you collect. So I had I was personally invested in making sure that the apartment complex was filled all the time, because that means I made more money.
Right.
And I liked it because there was no cap. It felt like entrepreneurship. Then I got even smarter. My company started to take off, and so I hired somebody else to sit there in my spot. So I started paying them out of my pocket, out of the money that I was making. I will pay you to sit here for me so I can go off and run my company.
Forced to work.
That's it.
Yeah. And so you still made money having them run your percentage of
Absolutely.
the marketing company. Right?
Absolutely. And
then you started making more. So you're making money online. You're making money at property management. You're making money at building websites. You basically have multiple streams of income because you have the time.
I'm a real estate investor
to do all of these things.
I'm a digital real estate investor. Currently, and I've never exposed this, okay, but currently, without considering I'll put it like this. I won't expose never expose where you currently are. Tell people where you've been. Okay.
Tell everybody where you've been. Right?
So 5 years ago, and I'll explain. But about 5 years ago, I remember having a conversation with one of my best friends by the name of Atari. And we were just talking about multiple sources of income. About 5 years ago, I was at, I want to say, between 20 and 21 different streams of income. Some small, some big. That was 5 years ago. It's more than that now. Some small, some big. And so what I like to tell people is it'll take the act of Congress to make it to where I don't have anything. And that makes me sleep better at night. You know, I sleep like a baby right now. I'm on 2 hours of sleep right now. But when I sleep so good because of that. And, you know, the hardest part for me is trying to communicate that to other people. The importance of having multiple streams to the people that I care about the most. You know, my household doesn't even understand it, you know. And I preach it all day long. Never have just one. I'll never just have one stream of income. It's so people think that it's dangerous to own a business. No, it's dangerous to work for a business if that's your only stream of income. Very dangerous. And so I learned that at an early age. The guy that I work for, my friend, that I ran the company for just taught me so much. You know, he was building houses before he started getting into the apartment arena. And I asked him, I said, why are you doing houses? Why aren't you doing houses anymore? He would build a house because he's a contractor, sell it for $200,000 to $300,000 a pop. And I said, why aren't you doing houses anymore? That's good money. He said, put it like this. He said, yeah, I can get back out there and build more houses, make $200,000 to $300,000 from the sale. You know, when it's all said and done, I make X amount of dollars after I paid my real estate lady or whatnot. He said, but after that transaction, I got to start all over again and build a whole nother house.
2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months, put it back on the market. Hopefully somebody comes and buy it. He said, I've been fortunate. All my houses have sold. He said, but with this, I can just keep expanding and people are going to pay me every month. I don't get as much up front, but I get a buttload every month. So when I was there, we were collecting $30,000, $40,000 a month. And I'm thinking, what? You know, this is insane. I'm out here hustling, trying to make the transactions. When he's on Easy Street, he's at the gym all day, you know, making the residual. And he taught me so much. You know, he taught me the value of doing the work once and getting paid for it over and over again.
For the rest of your life. And
that's why we're doing the internet. This is, right now, you're producing residual by recording this podcast that is going to spin for all your episode is carved into the fabric of eternity. That has a ripple effect that can create you income for generations. You know, intellectual property.
Well, and that's kind of the view too, is since it will be there for generations, I want to be there for generations.
Absolutely.
You know, so it kind of gives us a mind. Sometimes when we go to work, it's like, I got to get up at 8. I'm going to work till 5. I'm going to come home. And so our mindset is the 8 to 5
Absolutely.
Part of the day.
Yeah.
But like where you just said, this is going to be out there forever.
Forever.
So my thought is forever, I'm going to be putting stuff out there.
I'm going to tell you.
So it's kind of perceptions.
There's an artist that, you know, you might not like rap and stuff like that. But I don't never study my industry. I don't study other web developers. I don't study. If I was a carpenter, I would not study. I would learn from carpenters until I learned how to do it. But then from that point, I would learn from people outside my industry.
Well, same here. I'm not listening to the finance podcasts or stuff like that. Just to me, that's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Because you end up sounding like the person you're learning from.
Right. You know, and for me, I feel like I've made my successes, so let's talk about that, or bring in people and talk about their successes.
That's right.
Why remimic somebody else's story? You know, it's not original to me.
It's not.
It's almost like then I might as well just be an employee on a podcast, right? Because then I'm advertising somebody else's stuff. I'm working for them.
That's right.
Rather than working for myself. And that's the transition, you know, of saying, you're valuable, you're important, what you have to say is important.
That's right.
It's important for people. Like you talked about, your music before was a cult-like following, but it was important to those people that they heard that Robbie's music.
That's right.
And you spent the time putting it out on the internet to let people out there choose and say, are you my people or are you not my people?
That's exactly
you know. And you didn't discard and say, oh, you don't like my music. I can't believe not everybody's listening to my music.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, man, high five to the guy who's listening to my stuff.
That's the thing. You know, I was, case in point, I was listening to a rapper the other day, his interview. When I rapped, I didn't listen to rap. And I didn't listen to what rappers had to say. Now that I don't rap, some of the successful ones, I try to listen to the interviews that they're in, especially the ones that have longevity.
Because you could probably get in their mind and know where they're coming from. Like, so you hear that conversation, it's way deeper than me hearing that conversation.
Yeah, and I can apply it to what I'm doing on this. I'm not in music.
Right.
So the other day I heard a interview with the artist Gucci Mane, and he was celebrating his 101 album.
Wow.
And they said, man, how did you do it? How did you create so much body of work? He said, man, I was on drugs and I was just unconscious recording a lot. He was like, but when I got clean, I was so happy that I had put out so much music. He said, because I started to understand that the more music I put out, the more leverage I had, the more intellectual property I owned. He said, people are putting out, it take them 5 years to put out one album. He was like, how much intellectual property is that? It's not much.
Then the demand is it has to go to the top
Exactly.
for it to really make any money,
He said,
rather than having 100
right.
albums be in the middle, you know, and if one or two goes to the top or five or whatever,
Great. That's
right,
it.
because you're balanced.
He said, I've never had a number one record, but I'm richer than everybody.
Wow.
I said, oh my goodness, I get it. And that's how I treat, to me, I know people don't look at it like this, but to me, I'm a real estate. I'm in real estate. I'm just in digital intellectual property. So anything that I can do today that's going to produce for me in the future, that's what I do. I don't do just quick transactions. I learned that from selling at the flea market. I used to sell at the flea market. And we would have to run down. We would have to run down there. First of all, we had to load the truck up early in the morning. Yeah, unload the truck early in the morning. Set up early in the morning.
Rain,
and then hustle.
cold.
Hey man, hey, go check this out. Hey, how you doing? Like that shirt? Here, come buy this.
Everybody wants a discount.
Everybody wants a discount, and then you go home and you count your money, and you got $200, and you're like, damn, now I got to do this all over again next week.
So basically $10,000 a year.
Yeah. And then all you're doing is just small transactions, and you got to keep selling over and over and over and over again, or you don't eat because there's no residual.
Which then means you lose that money because you can't reinvest it.
Exactly.
It's not enough.
It's not enough
to reinvest.
That's right. But if you do something that produces money for you over and over again, this thing kicks in called compound interest. And I'm interested in compound interest. I like for things to compound. I like for things to start off small, roll downhill, and create this big snowball effect. That's what I like. And I realize it doesn't put so much pressure. It's like, I don't have to make $1 million with,
Everything doesn't have to be a grand slam.
It doesn't. It's a little here, a little here, a little here.
You almost could even celebrate your losers.
Absolutely.
Because you're not devastated by it. And then you go back, you tweak your losers. What did I do wrong? What do I need to do different? How do I need to apply this? Where do I need to put it at? And then you get the increase off of it. And you have the time to do it because you don't have the job swallowing you up.
And what's this? Employee to boss?
This is employee to boss.
So another thing, too, the government favors business owners.
Oh, yeah, tremendously.
Tremendously. So, case in point.
I probably haven't paid over $3,000 in taxes in the last...
Exactly.
20 years.
And then people get mad about that. They hear it. They're like, oh, Trump hasn't paid taxes. Amazon's not paying taxes. Well, here's the deal. With the business, all right, here's the case in point. Employee versus a business, right? Employee works. And they work for what they call earned income. They earned it. It's earned income. But here I am as the boss. But before I give you your check, I got to run it through Mr. Government first. So here's you. Here's the government. Big brother. Here's me, the boss. You worked for it. You earned it. But government say, let me get a piece of that money before you give it to him, Robbie. And let's say I pay you $300, government get their hands on it. They're like, I'll give it to him. $210. You're like, what happened? I thought it was $300. No, it's $210. All right. But here's what happened. So you get paid last. And you pay the government first. So what you're saying when you are working for someone, you're saying that you value the government more than you value yourself.
Actually, the boss gets paid first.
Yeah, the boss gets paid first. Absolutely.
Then he takes your money and gives it to the government and gives it to you last.
Absolutely.
Once you realize you're on the chain, where would you rather be? Paid last or paid first?
And you got to understand, why doesn't the government trust the boss enough to just say, boss, give them the money directly, let them pay me later? Because you're an employee and the government don't trust employees.
Well, and it's interesting to me, we talked about college earlier. I'm frustrated, and I can't believe that between kindergarten to 12th grade, you don't have a good enough mental aspect to become a boss to make enough money yourself.
It's not taught.
So now you have to go to college. And I think about who gets the benefit out of, these things. What do you got? You got the union.
Yeah.
And they get hundreds of thousands of dollars from each person who works for them.
Yeah.
Or you have the college who gets hundreds of thousands of dollars from each person who goes to school. And so basically you go to a company and you work for that company and they make hundreds of thousands of dollars off you while you work for them. So basically you have three avenues, union, college, or an employee.
Yeah.
And all those three make huge amounts of money off of people who don't have the mindset to become a boss. Then you have the other column that we're talking about. Entrepreneur, boss, be your own investor, things like that, which surpasses all of these, basically because you're giving up hundreds of thousands of dollars to one of these three organizations, or you keep those hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Crazy.
I was talking to a guy the other day, we were talking about his increasing, and we're working out a plan. And I said, business to me is easy. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Product or service.
Yeah.
How are you going to advertise for it or get those jobs?
Yep.
That's it. There's only two things to business.
That's it.
What are you going to do? How are you going to get the jobs? What are you going to do? How are you going to get the jobs? What are you going to do? How are you going to get the jobs? And so I'm saying, all right, what are you going to do? And he's got what he's going to do. And I said, well, how are you going to get the jobs? And he's like, well, I don't have any money to get the jobs. My bank account's overdrawn. I said, is this the first time this year that your bank's been overdrawn? He goes, no, my bank account gets overdrawn quite a bit. And I'm like, when are you going to get frustrated about that?
Yeah.
You go to work 40 plus hours a week and your bank account gets overdrawn on a regular?
And you're trading the most valuable asset you have, which is time.
And he knows he has the ability, just one job that would take 4 to 8 hours at his skill level would pay for what he makes a whole week.
That's right.
We did it. We even looked it up. We confirmed it on, Google. And that's the greatest thing about Google. You can type in how much to mow a lawn, how much to bake stuff, how much to do this, how much. And you can get the information and see, are you getting shorted for the jobs that you're doing? So this guy, we type in, he's an electrician. We type in, a couple jobs of what electricians would do. And it was coming up like $450 to $650. And he's like, oh, I could do that in 4 hours. And I'm like, okay, so you're trading 40, 45 hours for $650 versus 4 hours.
There you go.
That means you could be making $6,000 to $7,000 a week for the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
At $650, be paid first.
Yeah.
And tax write off most of that stuff for cars and tools and all of that from the government.
There you go.
So you keep more. So you lose hundreds of thousands of dollars working for the union, going to college, or working for somebody.
That's right.
You make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but he's broke.
See, I'm not a tax guy. I don't know the terminology, but I do know this. When you make money as an employee, as a business owner, like you just said, as long as you don't take this money out and go party with it and buy yachts, and you'll never really have to worry about getting taxed on it like you would as an employee. Because an employee is spending their money a lot of times on liabilities. An entrepreneur, most of the time, because the entrepreneur wants to keep growing, when they get paid, they go and reinvest their money on assets.
To make more money.
Absolutely. And guess what happens when we reinvest money in assets? We stimulate the economy at the ground level, because reinvesting in assets stimulates growth in the economy by producing more jobs for people. It increases production.
And see, that's the thing that we don't realize. There's a place for everybody to become their own boss.
Absolutely.
For me, I know right now, a lot of times you'll hear people say, stock market's going to crash, this is going to happen. But let me back up and just say this benefits me none for you to become your own boss.
That's right. It doesn't.
It doesn't. I don't get any money off of you guys becoming bosses. I want you to work
for me, right?
You know, but I want the best thing that I get out of this is your testimony, and I get tons and tons of testimonies off of these messages. But what I want for people to understand is right now we're in the baby boomer economy. There's 10,000 people retiring every day. Well, guess what? Those people probably don't want to mow their lawn anymore. They want to go on vacation. They need property management. Maybe they want to put their house online to rent it out. Maybe they need somebody to property manage their property. There's so many jobs right now. I mean, even thinking about how many babies are born. So not just talking about how many people are retiring out of the workforce, which is also good for you. So like I know this painter right now, he's a commercial painter. Well, he's retiring. Well, somebody needs to do his job. Somebody needs to become a commercial painter to fill where he used to be that person. I needed a house move the other day. We had a lot that was way more than the house. And I tried to call up 8 different places. I called up everybody I knew. I called 8 different places. And I said, who moves houses? And I was having to call 3 and 4 hours away, and they were wanting to charge $10,000 and $12,000 to come move this house.
Nobody here does it.
Because nobody here does it. And they said the guy here just retired. And I thought to myself, my gosh, $10,000 to $12,000. You'd only need to move 10 houses a year.
I'll move that house.
You know, and that's what I'm saying is we don't realize that people are retiring, and the people who retired had companies and businesses, and either their kids aren't taking it over or they never trained somebody to take it over. There's so much opportunity right now. I was just talking to a friend the other day. His dad works on diesel mechanics, his granddad. And I said, why don't you take over that company? And he goes, I don't like it. I said, well, just hire mechanics to do it and run over the business. He's like, yeah, I don't know that I want to do that. I said, how much is he making a year? He's like, oh, yeah, he does over $1 million a year. I'm like, you don't want to take over $1 million company.
I'll change that transmission.
Right. You don't even have to you can stay in the office. I mean, I don't even understand it. So his granddad's built it up. He's 72 years old, dying to retire, but nobody takes it over. This guy has the opportunity as a grandson to do it, won't do it. $1 million a year.
You know, that's a business too, helping people prepare for retirement. You know, I'll buy the business. You know, I don't know a thing about cars, but I do know that I can hire somebody to do cars.
Well, I mean, to make that transition, I mean, that's one of the things that we're doing on Increase Boss is talking about exit strategies.
Yeah.
You know, this is employee to boss, so it's, you know, younger people striking out. Right. You know, on Increase Boss, we talk to bosses who might want to go ahead and sell their business. And so we're trying to line Increase Boss people who want to sell their business up with employee to boss people who want to buy businesses. I mean, you know, I think first, if your boss is 60 to 70 or older, go to him and talk to him today and say, hey, what would it take for you to teach me and buy this business and help transition you on your exit strategy?
And some of them are even, if you don't even have money, this is one thing I've learned. If you don't even have money to buy the business outright, they will be willing to let you buy the business if you are willing to kick them a residual every month.
Yeah, 100%. I know a guy right now.
Without any money down.
He's got a flooring business, and he wants to get out. And he said what he would do is have a little bit higher rent. So I think his rent on his building might be $2,000. And he said, I would charge $4,000 for the rent. So it's under contract.
Yeah.
And as long as you rent that building from him, he makes $2,000 for the building, $2,000 for the selling of the business, the residual income aspect. And so that was his exit strategy. Nothing down. He just wanted the monthly income, a contract that basically said you'll stay in this location for X amount of years at this X amount of price. And he said he's got a $1.2 million business, and he says it's so hard to get people to think how to be bosses that they can do it for themselves.
And I will say this, I want to give a disclaimer too a little bit. I don't think everybody's meant to be a boss. And the reason I say that is because some people are good number 2s and number 3s. And I think every boss needs a number 2 or a number 3 or a number 4. Some people are just not built for it. Like me, I can take a financial slap to the face. I came up with nothing. You know, with a lot of people, they got to have that check. It's got to be there. If they don't have the check, they're done. You know, and not everybody is good at running business. You know,
100% true.
You know,
money management. I mean, there's lots of aspects to business.
Marketing.
But my thing is, even if perception, right? So I don't mind saying number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, wherever you think. I talked to a guy the other day. Be a boss of that, right?
Exactly.
And look around you, see if you are number 4. Can you become number 2?
Absolutely.
You know, how can you increase your weekly, monthly at that job? And that's what I always try to encourage people. So like I'm working with a girl right now, and I said, what can you do? She's making $12 an hour. And I said, what can you do to get at your job to $15 an hour? You know, so like she's doing the skill level to get higher and higher. Now, once she gets to $15 an hour, she's making a little bit more money.
Yeah.
She increased. So she doesn't have to save as much. She can invest more because she's making $3 more an hour. And so that's the thing with anybody. If you don't feel like you can start your business, at least look where you can increase to get more money so that you can start doing some of these residual things and start investing outside of the company.
Important. You said a mouthful, because if I entered your world and I looked around and I said, what does Ben need? Like, what can I offer Ben that would just provide tremendous value to him? You're not going to turn me down as an employee if I think that way.
Absolutely not.
Because I'll make your life easier.
Right.
But with most people, you know, if you know you're meant to be an employee, here's how you can always get a job and always keep a job and get paid whatever you want to make a lot of times. If you look around at the person's life that's in charge and you ask yourself, how can I improve this? If you make your sole purpose, I want to get up and I want to improve Ben's life. I want to wake up today and I want to improve everything he has going on. I want to offer my skill set to something that could be tremendously valuable to him. You'll make whatever you want to make.
Well, we have the example. You talked about you went in and because of a debt, lived with this guy's, apartment building and helped him.
Yeah.
But then you said this, and you didn't probably cautiously say it, but then you said this, what can I do to help you?
I did, absolutely did.
So now you asked yourself that question and you said, man, they need a website.
Yeah.
And then what happened? The guy was shocked. And then what happened?
You got results.
And then what happened? You became the project manager. And then what happened? You got more money because of it.
That's right.
And like you didn't go into that project first because you were thinking about the increase aspect of it. You went into that because you owed a debt.
I owed a debt.
But because you mentally perceived a better thought, you made the actions to build that website and do what it took to build it to where you made that residual income from that apartment building. Which is funny because then think about it. Did he say, man, I need you to, if you want to partner with me and get this residual income, you need to come up with $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. He didn't ask you for any money.
Nothing. Because
your skin in the game was the ability to accomplish what he needed to accomplish. And I don't think we realize that the value of asset, a person you are, is your skin in the game for the ability of accomplishing the asset, which is the residual income for the bosses. And if you can get that, you will be a millionaire, no matter if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, no matter what you are, if you can look around and say, hey, how can I provide value? You're going to have a job. You're going to have a bunch of jobs. And another thing that can set you apart from people is if you just do things without people asking you to do it, they'll think you're a mind reader. Anybody can sweep a floor after I tell you the floor is dirty. anybody can wash a window, or anybody can take out the trash, or anybody can do various things after they've gotten instructions. But where I excelled at is I have the ability to do things for people without them asking me to do it. I don't think nothing of it. I just think, well, if we're going to be friends, or if we're going to be partners, or if we're going to, know each other and hang out, my natural mindset is, how can I wake up and deliver something of value to you today? That's it. And I feel like, for me, I like to have a one up on people. Honestly, like, it serves me to do something for you and to have a one up on you, just to say I'm one up,
right.
And you benefit off of it, So that's how I live my life. Like, I want people to know that if you're my friend, I value you as a friend. If you're my customer, I value you as a customer. If you're my wife, I value you, my wife. I love my wife.
But think about it. So much in society, we're like, we want people to like our stuff, or say we're doing good, or man, that's awesome, or stuff like that. We want words of affirmation and things. But the funny thing is I don't feel like as a society we're doing enough to get the words of affirmation.
No, we're not.
And so just by a little bit of extra effort, we can get as many words of affirmation as you want.
Absolutely.
A small little test. Just go open the door for everybody.
Absolutely.
Today and see if somebody says thank you, which is a word of affirmation.
And it might not even come from the person you want it to come from.
Right. But it's just doing something you don't have to do.
Absolutely.
Opening the door.
There you go.
And you'll see that this scenario works. This experience should be deep in your heart.
Yeah.
Just by opening the door, you say, oh my gosh, it works.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't. What can I do now for my boss? What can I do now for the people, around me? Start producing more, you get more.
And, one thing, I know we're about to close out, but one thing we're incorporating at my company is we're developing various products to just give to our customers as a bonus, just to say, thanks for doing business with us. It might be, all right, we've created this new portal for emails. It's free to use. It also comes with the system. Or here is Wi-Fi for your restaurant. It also comes with the system. It's a bundle deal. So we're promising them one thing, but delivering that thing we promised them, but we're also trying to deliver other things as well. And, trying to incorporate that into, the people that I have with me is another thing. Like my developers, I'm like, yeah, I know I asked for this mortgage calculator and it's great, but you should have read my mind and understood that I wanted a mortgage calculator plus a mortgage application producer or something,
a printout of it, so that basically people could see not just the end result, but actually the monthly result of it.
Yeah, try to reverse engineer and think, what caused him to ask this from me?
Overperform.
Absolutely. One thing I did, even though I ran the apartment complex, I think this is where I have this thing now. Although I ran the apartment complex and could essentially just kick back if I wanted to, I still swept the parking lot every day. We hired a guy to sweep the parking lot, and he would get mad at me because sometimes when he come back, I'd already got it. And so he started feeling like his job was not important. He's like, God dang, Rob, just let me do my job, man. Come back, you got the parking lot clean. Well, that's my way of remaining humble and not, getting so fancy that I forget that, okay, I used to clean these parking lots, man. Like, I'm going to go out here by this dumpster and I'm going to pick up the trash. Case in point, I found $1,500 in the dumpster one day in the form of a lamp. This old lamp was sticking out of the dumpster. And because I had the humility to clean around the dumpster, I found this lamp. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it looked weird. I knew I had never seen one before. So I pulled it out of the dumpster, put it in a plastic bag, trash bag, because I had this trash bag. So I dumped all the trash out the trash bag and grabbed it because I didn't want to touch it. It was in the dumpster. Took it, put it in my bathroom, sprayed it down with bleach, wiped it off, looked under the bottom. There was a name. I Googled the name. The lamp was worth $2,500. I sold it for $15,000.
Wow.
because I had the humility to dumpster dive, to get my hands dirty, you know. So that's my motto today. Like, I just want to remember, I don't want to feel like I'm a hot shot that has a Midas touch, and you know, I just want to be hands on. Like, that's why I'm here with you today. You know, I like this. This is me. Like, when I retire, I want a podcast. You know, like,
well, you know, we look at, like, sometimes we look at the boss behind the desk just sitting there going golfing or doing this, but we forget when he was 20, when he was 30.
Yeah, he put in the work.
What did it look like? You
Absolutely.
know, imagine him with the broom at 20 years old, or getting yelled at from the boss, or, you know, the mismanagement of things, or the problems that he went through.
That's right.
Is the same exact things that you're going through today, which is good news, because you have a choice to change your perception and become that boss that he became.
Wow, that was a great close. Wow.
Why don't you shoot out your company information?
Why don't you shoot your shot? All right, my company is called Southern. Should I even say it? Because we're considering the name change and stuff. Southern Web Developer. I'm gonna still keep it. You know, keep no matter what. You know, I'll just.
It's another residual income. You got two companies.
I was considering a name change, but the company name is Southern Web Developer, and we provide digital solutions that help business owners create a professional presence on the internet and attract more customers.
Well, and that's what we talked about earlier of, you know, what do you do? Where are you going to advertise?
Yes.
You know, and that's what you're doing, is building somebody, the advertising platform to bring jobs in.
Because it's definitely cheaper than print. I'll tell you that. I got some stuff printed the other day, and it was a whopper if I hadn't have saved the money from the guy that I knew.
Right. Yeah, what was the original cost? Like $700 to print some stuff and send it
but
off?
let's not. I don't know if he scammed the system.
Yeah, right.
No,
well,
it was
we didn't name
$700.
the company.
It was $750, and he got it down to 150 something or something like. It was something maybe 128, and it was 528 or 728 something, but it was like $500 saved. And I'm like, for this, you know, like, what is this, golden paper? So yeah, even
the thing about that is once you hand it out, depending on the person's attitude of what they received in their hand with that paper, is it going in the trash, or is it going to be a call back? But a website, even if somebody clicks off and disregards it, it comes back up,
and you're not killing the environment.
You didn't lose. You're not killing the environment. You didn't lose that piece of paper. You know, like we talked about before. Basically, if you lose that job, you have to get another job. The website stays and works for you day and night.
Day and night is real estate.
Yeah.
And if you just be patient and just let that real estate grow, you know, you'll start to reap the benefits off of it for sure. I mean, the websites that have been around for, 8-10 years, those websites have pulling in numbers. You do a scan on those websites that's been up for a while, and all of them are performing. Why? Because they have skin in the game.
Right. Long term.
Hammer Jack Johnson.
Until next time.